Hello and welcome back to the channel. It is the 2021-2022 Premier League season, and there is already so much to talk about already in game week one. My name is Gary, joined as always by the fellow football freak, Alex. How are you doing?
I was doing okay until I got called a football freak. I'm also trying to sit very, very still because I'm in a very squeaky chair, and people might just be thinking I've had some dodgy curry before we jumped on and we did this. I'm
So that's
trying.
not beyond you at all. So,
It's just we've got a new
guys,
carry on.
yeah, guys, if you're new here, please subscribe and like. It will really help us out. Yeah, we've got so much to talk about. Game week one reaction already. So let's go and say what's coming up. We've reacting to the best games this weekend, and we've got winners and losers of the weekend. It's going to be a funny segment, and we're also going to play a game. We're going to overreact to the first game of the season, making ridiculous predictions for the season after only one game. And at the end, we've got some transfer news and rounds up. So other than that, let's get straight into it. Man
Whoa,
United.
whoa, and we have goal of the week, the
Oh, we
coveted
do
goal of
have
the
goal of the
week.
week. Yes. That was a tough one to pick for me personally. But we got that coming up later on in the show. But, very first game of the weekend that we're talking about is Man United versus Leeds.
Mm.
The hat trick from the star player, 4 assists from Paul Pogba, who might be leaving at the end of the season, but seems to be pretty motivated. A goal from their young striker in Mason Greenwood, who's playing up front. What on earth do they need Sancho and Varane for, eh? They absolutely smashed Leeds 5-1. But Bruno Fernandes gets all the plaudits, absolutely. His ability to find space, go beyond the defense, and just be super efficient up front. My question, agree or disagree, that
Mm.
this is now 100% Bruno Fernandes' team in Man United, and the success of Man United this season, wherever they get to, whatever silverware they get to, is going through him.
That's a tough one. So I would call Fernandez Manchester United's main man. Although, as you just mentioned, they've got some new signings in Sancho and Varane. So I think he's quite a happy player to like kind of shed that load. He doesn't seem like a selfish player. But for me, he's definitely their main man. But I'd stop short of calling them a one man team because me personally, I
Oh
hate
no,
it.
not a one-man team, but as in
Okay.
like there's in a great team, there's always the one guy that's like takes responsibility, is a leader in some way, may not be like the Roy Keane type of leader, but he's really pushing through ahead with goals and assists, being super efficient. Like that's why I kind of think it's his team.
Yeah, I do get what you're saying with that now. Yeah, sure. But as I say though, they have so many fantastic players. With Sancho, obviously he didn't start against Leeds, but he might just be one of the better players of an incredible team.
Yeah, but I like to think that they have the Man United squad is pretty packed. Like
Mm.
is a very excellent squad. Like, but none of those players, like you mentioned, Varane and Jadon Sancho, they won't have the same influence on the game as Bruno Fernandes.
Well, that's what we're going to find out, isn't it? And you know what? And the reason why I brought up Sancho is because if you think about his record in Germany, if he's able to replicate that, he might just end up taking some of Fernandes's shine.
Tongue twister there. You know what?
Yeah.
Final comment on Bruno Fernandes. I kind of compare him to like the opposite of Frank Lampard, but just as effective. Frank Lampard was super effective at running in late at the edge of the box and scoring. But Fernandes, he has this sort of game where he's like, okay, you need the striker to drop deep, and he runs beyond, he goes into space, and he's just super efficient at just scoring and assisting. And yeah, I think with enough time, he might get up there with Frank Lampard in terms of goals and assists.
I think what the thing that separates him from anyone else is, I mean, firstly, he does have fantastic technique, and as you said, when he gets into those positions, he usually offers quite a good finish. But for me, it's how he finds the space. He's just very aware of who's around him. He's always looking around. And as you say, when a striker drops deep, if a centre back kind of follows the striker, he sees that and he reacts to it. And I think, as I say, his finishing is good, but it's the fact he always manages to find space in and around the opposition's penalty area.
Yeah, it's been super awesome. But another awesome player that I want to talk about and ask you a question about, Paul Pogba. 4 assists, magisterial performance. Those through balls to Bruno Fernandes and Mason Greenwood, they were absolutely sumptuous. There's a lot of speculation. There's been a lot of speculation for years now about Paul Pogba and Man United and whether or not he will sign a new contract at the end of the season. But do you kind of think it's like, if Paul Pogba has a very good season, do you think it's testament to Solskjaer and his management skills that he's able to motivate Pogba in the last year of his contract? We'll see, but that's got a big deal to do with whether or not Man United also win anything or have a successful season.
Potentially, it's kind of a difficult one to answer. And I'll tell you why. One, you don't really want to take anything away from Solskjaer because it's one of them where unless you're in behind the scenes, no one really knows like how well the manager has done or how badly the manager's done, like kind of with motivation. And the other thing is contracts are such a weird situation, and I feel like Pogba probably breaks from the rules anyway because how many times players like say Adebayor where he would play quite poorly and he would sign a new contract. No, wait, no. Sorry, let me rephrase that. He would play really well.
Extreme player.
No, wait. Let me. No, but he will play really well. He'll sign a new contract and he will go on a bit of a bad run, and it's like absolutely crazy. And I don't think that was ever down to the manager. And I don't believe Adebayor tried any less harder. It was just some weird situation. And I feel like Pogba is he's a bit of a maverick, isn't he? I feel like even if he signs for PSG now and doesn't sign and doesn't actually move until next year, I still feel like he'll either play really well or he'll play really badly. Like it's completely up to him, should I say?
Final bit on Man United. Which goal was your favorite goal?
Do you know what? I think just for the pass and the finish. I like the old school, like kind of low, like kind of Greenwood finish. I know, like don't get me wrong, I know the Fernandes kind of like smash it into the top, like it was fantastic. But I appreciate that through ball so much because it was literally the weight of it was absolutely perfect.
I'm surprised. I thought that was going to be my answer because I thought I was going to disagree with you. I feel like for Man United fans, I think that Mason Greenwood goal means a lot to them. That they can have him as a proper centre forward because he was dropping in deep, going wide. It showed his prowess in that he's able to get behind the defence and tuck in an absolute clinical finish. So I feel like that's the most favourite goal in terms of Man United perspective. But
do you know what? Final note on Greenwood, and I have to say that we've been watching him like kind of develop over the last year or so. And what's quite interesting, I think it's been a really astute piece of business by Manchester United to get Cavani in for one more year. Because what I feel like they're still trying to develop him, and by the time Cavani, by the time Cavani leaves, I feel like Greenwood would be like a full-fledged, like kind of ready to take the mantle as like Manchester United number 9. And so it's quite interesting to see that. But yeah, excellent piece of business by Manchester United.
Absolutely. Talk about Leeds for a second. Did really well to equalise. But after that, it's a bit of a mad one. I don't know if Bielsa has played for Man United in the past, but he's given Man United sort of a free rein when they go to Old Trafford. It's always been high scoring games. I don't know. How did you see it? Because I felt like, did they just get scared and overawed by it? They just got overrun.
I feel like the thing I've learned from Bielsa is, as you read it all the time, he is massively into like kind of his video analysis. So they would have worked out the best they can, because obviously teams have changed over the summer transfer window. But they would have worked out the best way possible to try and break down Manchester United. And what we usually find is that they try that plan A against the better teams. Sometimes it comes off. If you remember the Manchester City where they won, was it 1-0 last season?
Yep.
And then when it doesn't work, though, it doesn't work well at all. It usually kind of all comes tumbling
down. Doesn't change it.
Well, I think he goes into so much detail with Plan A. It's quite difficult to like kind of change to a Plan B. Like kind of once you've
Yeah.
prepared so much for that, and I think that's what probably happens. And especially when you come up against the top teams, if you're not like kind of firing on all cylinders, it's not going to end pretty for you, is it?
Yeah, no, just a real shame because that Ailing goal was a fantastic goal. Like you'd think it would galvanize everyone, and it should have done, but then they conceded straight away, and yeah, the defense just looked a bit manic. They looked panicked. They left so much space in behind for all the Man United players. But I hope Leeds United have a similar season as they did last season, where you're gonna get these results. They're gonna be a bit, gung ho, but they're gonna throughout the season they're going to entertain and pick up loads of points.
Yeah, let's not forget. There's still 37 games left. There could still be some leagues still getting up to speed following the preseason. So I'd say no alarm bells yet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, and on to the very next game of the weekend. It was an absolute cracker of the game. Newcastle versus West Ham, and I'm gonna go straight to my very first question.
Mm.
Let's get that penalty instant out of the way. Did you think that that was a penalty?
When I first watched it, yes. And then when they slowed it down, I feel like it was a bit of a 50-50. And so
Yeah.
therefore, a 50-50 can't be a penalty. Although, I do just want to touch, I think the officials this season, what the rules they've implemented anyway, because it wasn't a perfect, it wasn't like kind of a perfect weekend for the officials. But I just want to say the rules they've put in place, I think they've done really well with that. And I think we're quick to throw insults at them when it goes wrong. But I think that credit where credit's due. I think they put in some really good rules, and I'd say for the majority of the games, they
Yep.
flowed quite well. But
I don't
that,
know. I'm gonna have to wait. I need multiple weeks of good implementation of rules before I'm not able to give VAR any credit because they've taken so many weeks away from us. But yeah, penalty incident. Not going to overrule it. Murphy, bit of a desperate lunge on Fornals in the box, which came after a crazy sequence of play. Antonio smashed the smashed the post. But yeah, it slowed down. I didn't think it was a penalty at the beginning. I really didn't. I thought it was very like you say 50-50. I thought I saw he basically he touched the ball, but maybe it just looked like too much of a desperate lunge that the referee gave the benefit of the doubt.
um, as I say, when I first watched it, so I actually thought, oh, that's a penalty, and so I wasn't surprised. I think the thing is, this is where VAR should be used, right? Is where they can actually have a look at it and be like, oh, he actually did get some of the ball, or like kind of it was a bit of a 50-50 challenge. Um, so I think if they did have a chance, if you took like kind of VAR last season and you applied it to that incident, I think it would have been I think the referee would have been overruled.
Right, right, right. Yeah, probably right. They're just given the benefit of the doubt. It's difficult because that's a pretty important penalty. I mean, they Antonio missed the penalty, but they still scored from it. That's a
Mm.
pretty crucial, point in the game. Yeah, Newcastle, at home, St James's Park, fans are rocking. They did really well to go, like twice ahead against this West Ham team. They looked really lively from the start. But I really thought that Saint Maximin and Callum Wilson, both of them looked really lively. My concern is
Mm.
they seemed quite attacking in this game against West Ham, as you should. First game at home, first game of the season. Do you think sort of like games like this, where the result goes the other way, they lost 4-2 in the end? Do you think that will revert Steve Bruce back to his very boring but effective style of play? He'd be like, I told you we can't attack like crazy. Like we got to think about our defending, and he might flip that over, which will be very miserable for Newcastle fans for the rest of the season.
No, no. I'll tell you why, because like Steve Bruce, he is the manager, and he would have been the one to decide how they play against West Ham. Although you've just given a lot of Geordies a heart attack there. They're all sitting there going,
I was just
"What?"
saying that was just my thought process while I was going through it. It's like, well, we tried to attack, but we conceded four. So
Um, well, no, I think you're probably going to see a slightly more attacking Newcastle this season. I think part of the reason why is they got that coach in halfway through last season, whose name I always forget, but he did help England as well. If that comes back to me, I'll drop his name in. But he's supposed to be a fantastic coach, very good with pressing, and I think we saw that towards the tail end of last season. But I
yeah,
don't think I think the reason why West Ham beat Newcastle is West Ham's finishing was much better on the day. And I think the stats backed up as well. I
oh
think they were
yeah,
quite even in stats. So, yes, 4-2 on the whole doesn't look that great. But I think the performance-wise, it wasn't a massively bad performance by Newcastle.
yeah, absolutely cracking finishes. Well, great finishes from both teams, really.
Yeah.
West Ham, Mikel Antonio, man, missed penalty aside, he was so good against Newcastle. The crazy thing, I was like, awesome assist with his left foot for that cross. Was it Fornals who scored it? Who scored no, it was Benrahma who scored that header. But I didn't know he had that in his locker. Left foot, pearl of a cross. I got another question for you. His hold up play was actually really amazing against Newcastle, like the Newcastle defenders. It was really, really awesome. Brought his team into play. But do you think his game can go to another level this season? They're trying to get another striker in West Ham, but he's got 10 goals in the last two seasons in the Premier League. Do you think he can get to 15 or even get to like 20 goals a season?
So the thing with Antonio, and you know what, the Newcastle game probably summed it up perfectly because, as you say, he missed a penalty. He missed a sitter a little bit before that, or borderline a sitter. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh. And
You're
then
talking about the header that hit the post.
and then he had and then for his goal, it was a good run and it was a fantastic finish, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And I feel
yeah.
like
That was an
Antonio,
excellent finish.
for West Ham fans, he's probably one of the most infuriating players because he's one of the few players. As you said earlier, we're doing like kind of a winners and losers segment. He's one of the few players who could win both awards in the same game week. You know,
But he's okay. He's not super efficient, but he's super effective
you,
for this West Ham team.
he is, but he does blow very hot and he does blow very cold. I feel like the thing with Antonio, and it's always been, he's very unpredictable, and I think he's not. I think he's even said this in interviews. He's not sure what he's going to do with the ball before he does it. So how are the defender's supposed to know? I feel like, but that's when he was out
It's
on
the
the
unit.
wing. I feel like when you're being a striker, it's a completely different role. You need to like kind of be a little bit more aware of like where the defenders are and what you're going to do and how that impacts the wide players around you. And I feel like if he maybe works with Moyes on the training ground and he's able to like kind of get more bit of that like kind of striker pedigree is the wrong word, but if he's able to train himself and like kind of turn himself into a striker and do like kind of more striker style things, which he did do against Newcastle, to be fair, I think he
Yeah.
could. I think he could.
Yeah,
I
that
think
was
he could take his game to the next level.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like, I don't think 15 goals a season is beyond, you know, beyond imagination. The game against Newcastle really was like I felt like quite a complete centre forwards game. He back to goal, super impressive, occupying the Newcastle defenders, bringing his team into play,
Mm.
and got an assist, left foot, showed his end product when he's not scoring, and for his goal, he took that in his stride like any of the top strikers would have done. So like, there was an excellent performance from my opinion. Yeah, West Ham, they're a bit of a difficult stage. I got this interesting question for you. Do you think West Ham are at a stage where, all their players in the starting 11, they're all very good players,
Mm.
right? Their next signing, I think, has to be a superstar. Well, superstar like caliber, because I don't think there's no point adding more players to the squad who like, especially if they're looking at striker. How are you going to get a striker that would be better than Antonio? They might be better, but they won't have the same impact as Antonio has as centre forward for West Ham.
So when you say superstar, so if we're talking about say like Lingard, where does he fall in your like kind of superstar category?
Just probably, well, he showed his ability to be superstar-ish quality, the way he was scoring. Um, I mean, they tried their best with Tammy Abraham. They were quoted 37 million pounds and they had to pay him 150,000 a week. Probably a bit too much for West Ham. But then I was thinking that's probably the level that they have to go to really improve their squad. Might not be Tammy Abraham, but I got to find someone to take them to the next level.
Yeah, it's difficult though because obviously they have a wage structure in place, and the thing is, these players they don't pop up that often, because you've got so many players around them, or sorry, not players, you've got so many teams around them who are able to offer bigger wages, and I think Tammy Abraham's actually a really good example of where they've turned around and said, you know what, we don't want to pay you what you want to be paid. So it is a difficult market for West Ham, but at the same time, I don't think they need a superstar next. But I do think they need a player next because at the moment the only person they've signed is Areola on loan.
Yeah.
He was on the bench, and if they sign him, I think he's a fantastic goalkeeper going forward. Fabianski he's got a few more years in him, but I think he's an excellent replacement for him. But they've got Europa League. They've got one striker who is a converted striker and still learning his trade. They just need to sign players. A superstar would be fantastic, but I think they're so difficult to sign these days.
Yeah, that's very true. But, buyer's market, if West Ham can stump up the cash, I'm pretty sure you can find a very, very, very good striker. So I'm hoping that there are some surprises with West Ham in the transfer market. 2 weeks to go. 2 weeks to go. Now, onto a segment. Onto a segment we thought will be ridiculously funny. It's only one game, but this is our wild and wacky predictions for the season based on the one game only, the game week one. I have a few statements. I assume you have a few statements. Would you like to go first, or would you like myself to go first?
Do you know what? I'm going to go first, and I'm going to limit you.
Okay.
You're only allowed one. Right, I'm going to limit you.
I have
right?
many outrageous predictions for this season. Yeah.
Do you know what? This is my like kind of it is like when you hear it, it is an outrageous prediction, right? And I'm well aware of that. But you know what? It might there's part of me that believes it might actually happen. Are you ready for this?
Yeah. Go on. Go on.
Pep Guardiola will be the first manager sacked this
No.
season.
No. No. You're a mental man.
What is it? Outrageous? It's called outrageous reactions.
It was far too outrageous. Jesus. Well, okay, go through your thinking. How do you think that? How will it unfold over the next coming weeks?
Okay,
Because it has to be coming weeks. You're saying first manager to get sacked.
Okay, here's what I'm saying. Right, is if Pep doesn't sign Kane, right?
Yeah.
This is what it's all based on, right? If he doesn't sign Kane, I think he's going to be a little bit disgruntled at City that they haven't backed him. Sorry, let me rephrase that. That City haven't backed him the way he wants to be backed.
Yeah.
Got to tread carefully there, If they don't back him the way he wants to be backed, because he does need a striker, right? And even if it's a backup striker to Jesus, like he still needs a striker. But if they don't back him, I think he might become a little bit unhappy. And I also believe the people, the owners of Manchester City, I believe in the back of their heads, they might be asking themselves the question, like, is there anyone else, like, maybe available? Because how many years has he had now? And he has not been able to provide them with that elusive Champions League. So, that add the outrageousness that we spoke about, like the fact they lost their first game of the season. So you got to add that into it as well, into the mix. But I'm just saying, if you mix that pot, there's like that little bit of tinder there. Who knows? Yeah. That's my outrageous prediction. Pep is going to be the first manager sacked or to walk.
Or to walk? Okay.
Or, to leave his club.
That's more believable than him being sacked. I mean, like, I get that he hasn't won the Champions League. I'm of the opinion that he's the one that completely threw away that Champions League against Chelsea. Don't know what his tactics were on that day. Just threw it away for some reason. But you don't go trading in fact that they've won Premier Leagues and sack him just because he's not getting the Champions League. But I like the way that you're thinking. I do like the way you're thinking.
I mean, you are. Let's be honest. You are probably right in everything you've just said. Right, I can't argue it. That's why it's fucking outrageous. Right?
Yeah, I do say one thing about Man City. I think this might be an outrageous comment. Man City fans might dig me out for this, but I think they're more in need of a defensive midfielder than they are Harry Kane. Because the game just highlighted how weak they are, like transitions going backwards. Like when they go for it, they're playing a 2-3-5, and Tottenham. All Tottenham had to do was sit deep, counter, and yeah, all of the midfielders, fullbacks got exposed, and they might need someone like Fernandinho 4 or 5 years ago, where he was super effective at just fouling and intercepting. They
Well,
need that defensive midfielder.
I'd say if Declan Rice doesn't sign a new contract and Fernandinho is on his way out next season, that would be a really interesting situation to see unfold. Because that's who I'd go for if I was City.
Yeah. Okay, glad you agree. My other outrageous comment, still with the top of the Premier League as well, but I'm saying that Man United are going to win the Premier League ahead of Chelsea and ahead of Man City this season.
Do you know what? That doesn't feel that outrageous. Like when you say it. Like, no, but you know what?
They're so far. They're so far behind. Like it's a big old gap from last season to Man City. What was, I don't know, was it 10, 11 points? I really can't remember, but it seemed like a big gap.
Yeah, but they've tried to plug that gap with Varane and Sancho. Do you know what I mean? As far as like kind of stop gaps go, that's they're quite two useful things just to throw in there to try and fill it up. I do understand where you're coming from, where there is a gap, but I don't know. I think they're going to be up there and thereabouts. Is one to keep.
Because everyone's got Chelsea and Man City right up there, right at the top. Champions League winner, Premier League winner. Those are the two favorites. Not really giving anyone else a chance. But I think Man United have a really good squad. Really good squad. I mean, like if they do anything else than challenge for the title, I think it's a big underachievement for Man United.
Yeah, no, I do see where you're coming from. I don't think it's that outrageous. Like I went for it. I went for Pep's gonna be gone. I feel like you just dipped your toe into the outrageous pool.
Yeah, maybe I didn't go too hard. Do you have another one?
Arsenal going to get relegated?
I had on there. Arsenal are going to go through a relegation battle for half a season, but I wasn't quite gonna go to getting relegated because I can see it. I can see Mikel Arteta getting sacked after 8 games. They've bought a load of players in his like style, and then they have to get someone in. They might get someone like Sam Allardyce in, and then like it's no use to someone like Sam Allardyce or something ridiculous like that. And yeah, Arsenal are just in a sorry state of affairs right now. So
if it
I
makes
had
you
something like that.
If it makes you feel better, I don't actually think Arsenal will be relegated. I think the problem with Arsenal is they have quite a few mid-table players.
But they can't sell.
And you will look at Xhaka, they couldn't sell him, but then they also don't want to lose the value of Xhaka, so they give him a new contract. It's more economics than it is football. But it's the world we live in at the moment. Sorry, I just let you recover from that. I think, I don't see the good thing for Arsenal is commercially they do still like bring in a lot of money, but they need to start using that sooner rather than later, because right now they're finding themselves in a situation where they can afford players, but players don't want to go to them. And it's not just Arsenal. Tottenham have been going through the same thing. They're in that kind of Europa Conference League. Players are saying we don't want to play in that. We want to play in the Champions League. And regardless of the money they can offer and the stature of a club like Arsenal, the now is more important than the past.
I've got the stat here. I think Arsenal will fall out of the top 10 of the top half of the Premier League table for the first time since, let me get it up. 10th? No. The last time would be 1975, where they finished 17th. All the other seasons, they were 10th. Oh, no, 12th, 1994, 95. Okay, my bad. I got a final one for you.
Mm-hmm.
Final one for you. All of the teams promoted to the Premier League, they will stay in the Premier League. Includes Norwich. I'm not so confident, but Norwich were a bit ravaged by COVID and injuries. But Brentford had an awesome day out against Arsenal, really bullied Arsenal out the park. So it should give them a lot of confidence that they are definitely of the quality of this league. Yeah, Norwich, it wasn't so great. But you have Watford with their really impressive 3-2 victory over Aston Villa, totally sort of ripped Aston Villa to shreds, going like 3-0 up and holding out for the win. So is that not outrageous enough?
It's quite outrageous. It's quite outrageous. I don't remember the last time.
All three.
Yeah, it stayed up. We don't pay Sky Sports enough money for them to do stats for us. As in, we don't pay them any money.
But they should.
They should for free. It's outrageous, but it's outrageous. No, I'm trying to see where you're coming from, but I don't think. I reckon one of the. So who will be the 3 teams to go down? Come very quickly, because this is just outrageous shit chat, right? This is just
Southampton.
Yeah. Okay.
Southampton's one. I really don't know.
If you're going to say they're going to stay up, I feel like I'm going to need 3 teams off you to fully buy into your outrageous theory.
All right, let me get the table up. I feel like I need the table. Barnsley. No, the Barnsley not even the club. I don't know why I said that.
You just said the first
Crystal
name.
Palace.
Crystal Palace. Okay.
I got confused with Burnley. Sorry, Burnley, Crystal Palace, and Southampton are my 3 picks.
Okay.
Feasible, bit more feasible now.
No, less feasible. No.
Okay.
Burnley, I think will stay up. Palace, we'll see how Vieira does. So Palace could be a maybe, and Southampton, that's also there. But we'll see. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll ask you on game week 38. See how you get on.
How wrong I was. Okay, on to the next segment. We have a little game we want to play. Biggest winner of the weekend, Alex. Who have you got?
Okay, so I went through and a look. Now there's quite a few contenders.
Yeah, could be players, could be managers, could be referees, and it could be a club as a whole, or could be the whole football community as a whole as well.
So I tell you what. I'll go through kind of my maybes, and I'll tell you who won in the end. So first of all was Pogba. Fernandes got. I tell you, he got 4 assists, which is 1 more than he got all of last season.
Yeah,
sounds absolutely
that's
crazy.
true, actually. Yeah.
So he was up there, and also kind of when you get a hat trick, you usually take all the plaudits. You actually said that earlier, so it was more like kind of he deserves plaudits as well for how he played. Second one is Van Dijk. It's nice to see him back in competitive football, and see him kind of slot seamlessly back into that Liverpool defence. Also, Potter managed to turn the game on his head. Some really, really clever substitutions, and so he was able to turn them losing 1-0 to Burnley to a 2-1 Brighton win.
Finally won where the XG was greater than the other team for once.
I wasn't going to bring that up. I reckon Brighton fans probably kind of hate anyone who brings up XG now. But my winner is Chalobah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Well,
yeah.
I tell you why, because I feel like we don't see it often enough where players they show kind of the emotional side and kind of that side, and it was just really nice to see how much that goal meant to him, And that meant a lot to me to see. So Chalobah.
Yeah, young lad, making it to the team, scoring an absolute peach of a goal. It's hard to argue with that. I mean, I feel like my picks. One is a popular pick, probably. One is a
whoa!
very
You get one
unpopular
pick. You just pluck picks out.
Okay,
you get one
I've
pick.
got 2 contenders.
Okay.
but one's popular, one's unpopular, right? First contender,
Yes.
popular, right? It is Brentford as a whole. Football club, 75 years, not in the top tier of English football. Finally returned at home, new stadium as well, brand spanking new stadium. Fans were well up for it
Hmm.
and absolutely demolished Arsenal. Like they fully deserved that game. It was basically men against boys in that game. I think
I tell
they
you what, hang on,
pressed
Gary.
Arsenal.
Let me interrupt you there because I agree with everything you're saying, but I don't want to forget this, right? But if you can correctly guess nearest to the closest, let's say 5,000, right? How many days it's been since Brentford last won in a top flight game, and you got 5,000 going either way. Don't be looking up your calculator, right?
What was my calculator even going to tell me?
Sky
It's not going
Sports
to tell me.
mentioned it about 1,000 times how many years it's been since Brentford. Like they were just non-stop. It's been this many years. Okay, we get it. It's been a while.
What? How many games? You're talking about how many
No
games?
days. How many days? And I'll give you a box of Krispy
1 million
Kremes.
days.
1 million days. Do you know how many years that is?
I'm just joking. 100,000 days.
Okay, no. You get no Krispy Kremes.
50,000.
You still get no Krispy Kremes. I'd stop there.
Oops.
27,157 days since Brentford last won a top flight game.
Wow, I was a bit too disrespectful for Brentford. But I
Well,
did
so
also.
you guessed 50,000 would have been about 150 years ago. So.
Yeah, I should have actually done some maths, which I am good at. But for this one,
No one believes you now. No
it
one believes
escapes
you.
me. It escapes me. The other one is this got very unpopular
Mhm.
pick, and that is Rafa Benitez for Everton, because he was under so much pressure being pointed as Everton manager. First game of the season, under pressure again to give a win, and he got the win against Southampton at home. And like as much pressure as he's going to be when he's losing, I think he needs some credit to like come in. We're gonna win the very first game. Don't worry. We're gonna play attacking football ish. So that's my other pick.
So which one are you going for?
I'm going for Brentford, but I felt like I have to mention Rafa Benitez.
Can I tell you something about Benitez, right? So you know when, because I'm not going to be able to explain this, but you know when you say you watch a player, right, and he plays fantastically well, but like none of the stats back it up, but he passes the eye test, right? He
Hmm.
said he goes, it doesn't matter what the stats say, he played brilliantly. Right. And the reason I bring this up is because Benitez, I can't put my finger on it, so I'm going to call it the eye test for managers. But if you take away his like kind of Liverpool years, there's something where he fits. He just seems to fit incredibly well with Everton. He seems like kind of their style of play, their values. I feel like there's just something that fits there. It feels right. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know. It's very hard to take away that Liverpool side of his, career because it meant so much to him.
Well, neither
But I
would you,
understand
right?
tactically.
Well,
Tactically can be flexible, defensive, cares about the result. If given the right situation with good players, can play really attacking football. But yeah, we'll see.
yeah.
Like I sort of understand what you're talking about. Okay, on to the very one of the last segments. Biggest loser of the weekend. Sounds like a harsh award to give, but again, could be players, could be managers, could be anyone in the football community. Who are you giving the loser of the week?
So I kind of ummed and ahed about this one. I was. I'm not gonna do the dirty, and I'm not gonna say the candidates for the losers this time. Not the losers, the ones who lost the most, right? You know, we're not trying to we're not trying to hate on anyone. But I think for me, I think it's Hassan Hutel,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
explain
Because
to
he's
you
just
why.
under more pressure from the previous season.
Well, I'll tell you why, right? It's because the two easy picks are probably Leeds, and you can either select Bielsa, you can select a few of the Leeds players, or the Leeds as a whole. You know what I mean? Like, kind of all of Leeds are in the firing line a little bit when you lose 5-1, as any other team would be. Maybe even Newcastle for going ahead twice and losing 4-2. But the reason why I've picked Hasenhüttl specifically and not Southampton is because last season, the tail end of last season, their form was abysmal. And the worrying thing is, when I sat and I watched that game, that doesn't seem to have changed that much for me. Now I don't know if Southampton fans maybe like kind of felt a bit differently about that. Maybe they saw something else, and then you've also got to add that they lost Ings, although Armstrong did come in and score.
Scored a beauty. Scored a beauty, that one.
But the worrying thing for me is if he maintains a form that he had at the tail end of last season, he'll be gone very soon.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. My contenders.
Gary didn't care. He's happy to name all contenders.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Crystal Palace, Patrick Vieira. It's all manager themed, right? Crystal Palace, Patrick Vieira. 3-0. Okay, it's against Chelsea. Chelsea at home. That's not too bad. Okay, You're not going to be judged on those games. Leeds, Bielsa. It's kind of because it's multiple games against Man United where they're really, really look like they're capitulated. But they're not really going to be judged on that as well. Then I fall on Mikel Arteta and Ralph Hasenhüttl. Because like you, Arteta is right in the spotlight in terms of managerial pressure out of the European competitions, only has the Premier League to judge his ability on, and has all preseason to prepare against Brentford, who, let's be honest, Arsenal should be beating. And you can talk about the transfer market and whatnot with Arsenal and not having the right players, but you really come up to the first game of the season and it's properly men against boys stuff where they got absolutely bullied off the park. Brentford, a team hasn't been in the Premier League or the top tier for 75 years. Just really embarrassing stuff. So I just think he's on the hot seat right now, along with Ralph Hasenhüttl. But I think Ralph Hasenhüttl is probably going to win it because the form from last season, like you said, the tail end, just too abysmal.
I think the thing that saves him is I think Bielsa is, that he's probably going to get smacked maybe a few times this season by the bigger teams, but he's going to make up for that in the other games. I think Arteta is not as far down the road as Hasenhüttl, but he's he's on a slippery slope right now. Whereas Hasenhüttl, he's right at the end. He's gone on terrible form, and it seems like there's nothing that so far that we've seen has improved here. And I think that's why we probably both agreed, he's right down that end. You know what? There's one other actually loser of the week I wish to mention, and that is the Sky Sports reporter. Because
what happened?
So let me get your thoughts on this, right? So during the game, the Tottenham fans, I don't know where they got this confidence from, because I am a Tottenham fan, right? And if I learned anything from last season is, especially if you're playing Man City, you do not get confident or cocky when you're 1-0 up, all right? And the Tottenham fans, they went there. And so when it was about 5 minutes, they started singing ironically to Harry Kane, "Are you watching Harry Kane?"
That's a bit ridiculous. Quite funny, actually.
No, it's like funny, it's in jest, it's fine, and it's football fans being football fans. That's not the bit I have a problem with. The thing I have a problem with is the Sky Sports reporter then, after the game, asked Son and then Nuno, he asked them, "What do you think on a Harry Kane chance?"
Yeah, that's an impossible question for those players. They ask it, but they know they're going to get a nothing answer.
Exactly. So it's a bit shitty because they know, they're fishing.
Instigating.
For shit.
Yeah. And you're trying to instigate, one of the nicest, footballers in the Premier League. He's never going to say anything bad about Harry Kane.
Kane's his mate. You know what I mean? And, obviously, Son loves the Tottenham fans. So, and I would have enjoyed the Sky Sports reporter to maybe do it in the Fergie era. Just to see how many boots would have got slung his way.
You'll just see Alex Ferguson turn into a beetroot again, which we thoroughly loved back in the day. One of the last sections. We're running long here. Goal of the weekend. Who
Yes.
have you got? I've
Okay.
got two contenders.
I've got loads of contenders. There were some really, really, really good goals this weekend. All right.
Good.
And you
Okay.
know what? We should probably at some point put some rules into why we're selecting these goals, like kind of technique or some crap. But we're not at that point yet, so we'll deal with that when we come for it. But I think some of the players who who I went back and I looked and to see. Ayling deserves a shout out. Decore, Shalabar, Fernandez. We mentioned the Greenwood goal. Alonso's free kick. They were just some of the
Yep.
brilliant goals that were scored. There were a lot. But for me, my favourite goal of the game
Don't
week.
steal my goal. Don't steal my goal.
You're gonna say
Go on.
McGinn.
No. Okay, good.
It's McGinn, and
It's a great goal. Great goal.
I tell you why. It's just purely from an appreciation of technique point of view. The way that ball's bouncing at him, the fact he was able to get that on target, like you put, like kind of like 99% of all other players in that position, and I'll probably sky that. It definitely ain't hitting the target. And he has that in his locker, and I just thought it was just such a fantastic piece of technique that he tips it for me.
Ooh, okay. I've got the same game,
You're going
and it's
Hernandez.
purely for I'm going for pure technique, cutting in inside, curling that, the precision on that inside of the post. Goalkeeper, you have two goalkeepers. I'm going to save that one. In off the post, which I dearly love, and the technique involved with, when you see the goal again, hits the ball, and like the swivel where both feet are off the ground to make that shot curl in,
Mm.
I think is like amazing. So that's my favorite goal. If it wasn't for that, I'd probably pick the Bruno Fernandes goal. I don't know, just Pogba's assist all around for Bruno Fernandes and Mason Greenwood. I felt like he came up with two assists that were 9 out of 10, but the other goals were just 10 out of 10. So which is really unfair. But
Yeah, that
those through balls were just insane from
I,
Pogba.
I do think it's just piggybacking on what you're saying about like when the ball hits the post, or even better, the bar is just something about it that if a player has a shot, right, and it's a 9 out of 10 shot,
Yeah.
and it goes in, and it's 1 millimeter below the bar, it stays 9 out of 10. But for some reason, if that goes 1 millimeter higher and hits the bar,
And
well,
goes in off the
it's 10 out of 10. It gets it
and
like
you have Martinez stretching his absolute like to the max, and he just can't get it. And yeah, that's why I love those type of goals.
some brilliant goals this game week.
We're gonna finish it off of some transfer news. Transfer
Yes.
news. What do you think about these signings? We have Joe Willock, who joins Newcastle from Arsenal on a permanent deal for 25 million pounds. Had a super awesome finish to the season last season. Scored, I don't even know, like 7, 8 goals in consecutive games. Probably won't have that same impact over every single game that he plays for Newcastle. But how would you rate this transfer for both teams actually?
I think it's one that suits both clubs. I think Arsenal, they're probably looking to offload players. I think they were probably hoping to get rid of other players like Xhaka, but I think where he's probably staying, that's probably the reason why Willock has gone on the way out. Because Arsenal will want to sign other players, but they probably need to fund that with player sales.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good amount of money for them to have. And I think for Newcastle, as you mentioned, he had such a strong end to the season. He endeared himself to Newcastle fans. He got quite a good reception when he was at St James's Park, or whatever it's called
really
these
lovely.
days. I refuse to call it anything else. It's St James's Park.
Yeah, well, don't mention the SD, the name SD. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, like, it looks like that Newcastle are creating a very tasty team. I mean, a team that has the ability to be super counter attacking. So you got Callum Wilson, you got Saint Maximin, you've got Almiron, and then you add Joe Willock to the side, where you have four players that you don't want to sit deep, but you could sit deep, soak up pressure, and then absolutely pounce with these players because they're all super athletic. They all got a goal in them, so it's very good signing. probably about, I don't know. What do you think about the price?
You know what? No, let's not talk about price. I'll tell you why. I'm fed up with people judging players based on their value.
No, don't judge the player by the value. For Newcastle on the transaction and maybe Arsenal on the transaction.
I see that I'd have to look in, see how many years Willock had left on his contract, unless you.
No, I don't know that off the top of my head. Maybe
But,
two
but
or 3 years.
I think it all comes down to economics because Arsenal probably wanted to sell, so they're probably not going to like kind of put too many blocks up there, and then how many years he's got left in his contract. So,
A lot of Arsenal fans in a bit of a meltdown because they can't sell the players that they don't want to sell. Had to sell a young, promising player. Probably didn't fit the style of play that Arsenal want to play. But yeah, it's super frustrating when you let someone go from your academy, basically.
yeah, well, I mean, Tottenham right now, if it makes you feel any better, is they're trying to sign a player from PSV who was on their who was on their books. Um,
Oh
and
yeah,
there's
that's always frustrating.
and there's another player called Marcus Edwards who Pochettino once said reminds him of Messi. So no pressure for him. But he's moving to
No.
Sporting, so I'd keep an eye out. Or he was going to move to Sporting. I'm not sure what's happened there, but I'd keep an eye out for him as well. But it is super frustrating, like kind of losing these players. I still feel like England as a whole haven't caught up with being able to develop young players and move them into the first team. I still
I
feel
think
like we're not that
the
great at it.
talent gap, the gap in experience between first team player and young players just too much. And every game is worth millions and millions of pounds. Can you rely on a youngster? That's what I think about as the issue. Second bit of transfer news.
Hmm.
Tammy Abraham has accepted to join AS Roma. The agreement has been reached with the striker, 40 million euros, permanent deal, paid in installments. He will sign his contract after medicals in the next coming days.
There's a buyback clause as well, €80 million, I believe.
Yes, yes. So that's a lot of money for an Italian team to be spending. Um, where Roma have this money, I don't know. I thought, Inter have all the money that they've been splashing about with. But yeah,
No,
this
no, no,
kind of
no.
was
You
kind of
are
surprising.
misinformed. Whoa, whoa. You are misinformed. Inter are in meltdown.
That bad. But I mean, they
So,
just sold for 150 million euros. I'm sure that would have done something.
so a
And
few
they
weeks ago,
sold Hakimi.
so I know. Well, you don't listen to anything outside the Premier League because you just like you're fully focused on Premier League. But so the rumor going around in Serie A, or I don't think it's necessarily a rumor, but Inter Milan were pretty much worried about going broke. So they're right now they're essentially happy to sell anyone. There's players they would like to keep, but if the right amount of money comes in, I think they'd actually like kind of sell anyone. They're in quite a bit of financial trouble.
Okay, surely they're not on the brink of financial ruin now after selling. If you're on if you're on the brink of financial ruin after selling someone for 150 million euros, you're toast. There's no way back. But yeah, 40 million euros for Tammy Abraham. You don't like talking about price, but do you think it's a good move for Tammy Abraham?
I don't
First,
mind talking about. Wait, let me just say I don't mind talking about price and how much like kind of people are playing. Sorry, how much people are paying. What I don't like is when say like Ben White and they say, "Oh, we cost 50 million, so he should do X, Y, and Z." It's just it doesn't work like that. He cost or when they say Ben White was 50 million and Varane was it 43?
hmm
Because there's other factors which you're like kind of not excluding. So that's why I don't like talking about price. But actually how much a club like kind of gets or how much a club like kind of sells a player for, that's fine. But I think that's the way it is. It's like kind of judging a player based on their price just doesn't work. But good
but
price for
40 million
Chelsea.
euros.
Sorry, yeah, good
For,
good price for Chelsea. I think they've
awesome
done
price for Chelsea. That
yeah.
is for a striker that they're not relying at all on, probably for this season. That's a great price. Buyback clause. I mean, I think because they have to buy Lukaku for 115 million euros, they were like, please, can we not have to pay that again? So they set the bar at like 80 million euros. Probably smart business because they'll probably buy him again in the future. But yeah, I mean, this is a move that funds that Lukaku deal. Yeah, Chelsea are spending spending like hotcakes.
Chelsea, they're geniuses, right? Because they signed Lukaku, they gave Inter Milan a load of money. Inter Milan bought Zeko off of Roma, and so they gave Roma a load of money, and then Roma went, "Oh, we need to sign a striker now." Chelsea got Tammy Abraham available. So
The love triangle.
Tuchel was a genius, or Abramovich, one of them.
Yeah. It'll be really interesting to see how Tammy Abraham does at Roma. Maybe he can have that Lukaku jump or as a striker, yeah. I think Lukaku's the better player, but if he can get that experience and become a way better player, then he probably come back to the Premier League.
I doubt it. I think the thing that that took Lukaku to the next level was Conte. Conte, he's an absolutely madman when it comes to training. And for the first, I think, 3 months when Conte was at Inter Milan, Conte made Lukaku only train with against another Inter Milan defender, and he only trained with his back to goal to try and help him improve that game. And Roma, currently managed by Mourinho, he won't get that same level of coaching.
Probably get a lot of hatred and criticism as Mourinho's way. But 2019, 2020, 34 appearances, 15 goals. That's 2 years ago. He definitely has that potential, but yeah, let's see how good he can be for Roma. But we've been running long. That is everything that we want to talk about the Premier League. And sorry, we can't fit in all the games. We really want to talk about all the games, but it is impossible. We'll be here for 2 or 3 hours. If you could, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and we'll hopefully see you next week.
Yes, see you next week.